Hello, and welcome to another episode of my podcast, 10,000 Hours and Counting, or How to Make the Spiritual Path as Practical and Applying it into Your Daily Life as Possible. I'm Laura Gearmans. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be solo today, musing from my heart of some guidance that I feel guided to share with you all at this time. I'd like to talk today a little bit about the concept of white magic or light work. And in these dark and challenging times that we're in, it's so important that we keep our focus on the light and we look into ways that we can be of service to that light and we can utilize our own gifts and our life to bring about forces of positivity and really be part of what I would call the solution and not the problem. So what is white magic to me? White magic is the practice through prayer, invocation, energy work, working with crystals to bring more spiritual light into physical matter, into the earth, to bring it through my body as a healer and to oftentimes share that with other people, or to bring it through and work with the energies within earth, because we know that we have the balance, the harmony, the yin, the yang, light and the dark. All of these energies exist on earth. And my belief is that we are here as human beings to be a bridge, if you like, of divine essence, to channel heavenly universal frequencies through us and into the earth. It's that heaven on earth project that many people will talk about, that you may have read about. And I really know in my heart, my heart's truth, that no matter what people see and think about humanity and thinking humanity is a scourge upon the planet, the truth of us all is that we are here to work with Earth and to be this bridge between the divine energy, bringing it into material reality. Now, I'm sure there are many of you who may be able to vibe with my sharing the idea that we all come from star energy. And so many of us, we're called to physical form. Many of us will have experiences or even sort of long forgotten, foggy memories, perhaps, of being that energy. So being able to immediately express things and create and not having physical matter or form. Some people call these people star seeds. As I said before, I don't always like to label things. I just, what it is what it is, and my experience of it. But I think it's helpful for those of us to know that when we're feeling a level of impatience on the path and we are doing our spiritual practice, we believe in spiritual energy, because let's face it, that's not everybody on the earth who believes that. But again, if you're here and listening, you obviously do. But when we're working with spirit and we believe in it, we're sometimes also falling into the human trap of expecting the immediacy to come about. But the gift of being spirit in flesh is that we need to do that extra work in order to make things happen. It's not just as simple as wave a magic wand. It's about grounding it in and somehow grounding in spiritual energy and light into material conditions, or heaviness in the earth or heaviness in the body or whatever it might be. Grounding that light into matter is a really powerful, not just a practice, but a gift and well, yeah, really a gift, I think, to Earth. So white magic practice, to me, it's about that. If you are a healer who offer that to other people, you're tuning into universal, well, let's call it source energy, because that's what it is. And you are also, when you offer that space, whatever space you work from will be receiving that energy. So it's that divine feminine principle of there's always more than enough. So giving is receiving, receiving is giving, that there's no way that you can offer someone your light from that pure space and that it not also have flow-on effects for you, for the work, the earth where you are working, for the room where you are, for the person as they go out into the world and they send that energy, to other people. So it's about raising frequency. And you will have heard me talk before, and I'm sure you've read articles where we're saying that as a species, as humans, we're moving away from carbon-based structures, which is how we have all been created. And so much of the earth has carbon within. And let's also talk about the crystalline kingdom and the king, queen, majesty of all carbon diamonds. So carbon is not inherently wrong, but there's a heaviness to it that has sustained life on Earth. And now, as we are moving through these new energetic gateways, the awakening and the ascension energy of Earth, planet Earth herself. Our DNA is shifting and our physical form is shifting into more crystalline frequencies. And we also use crystals in so many of our technologies and our material world items. So it's just that shift from a heavier energy into a higher frequency. And frequency is that energy of being able to connect to something that's ephemeral. So being able to feel into something or get that gut sense of what's going on. It's not necessarily measurable, you can't necessarily see it, but it's a sensation that you will feel within the body or maybe in the mind. And you can tell when it makes you feel good when you're in a lower energy frequency, when you actually feel more depressed, or you can see people are depressed. It's also tied to the energy of emotion. But raising your own frequency through whatever spiritual practice you do, breath work, meditation, working with crystals, energy invocation, any of these things, as you do things to raise your own frequency, spending time in nature, as you raise your own frequency, as I said before, there's always a flow-on effect that whether or not it's noticeable to those around you, it offers more of that light. It's like giving an alternative or a cure to the disease that people don't necessarily understand, of heaviness, of lack of fear, of lack and belief in that separation, anxiety of not feeling their own inner divinity. So that's what the light work to me is. It's about raising the frequency, doing it for myself so that I'm able to then connect in more to those other universal energies and work with earth energy and help to raise the frequency for all. And there are many of us who offer our prayers or our light to earth, who work with crystals specifically for earth, or even just through the power of prayer and altar work, even through our belief and perhaps where our dollars are spent in how we believe in taking care of Earth so that we have a future for Earth. So, for those of us who are working at that frequency, it's important to understand that there is no such thing as a small or unnoticed effort. We really need to understand the energy of putting in a genuine call from your heart to be of service to the light in whatever that way that means, through compassion, through kindness, um, anything like that. And connecting into earth, I always say to people, if you see something that you feel is troubling about something that's happening on earth, environmentally, politically, through humanity, you can take a lens of mastery to that, and you can say, okay, there's a whole storm of terrible, horrible things happening all of the time. And historically, that's been so too. I think we need to have an awareness that this is not new. This has been the way it is for humanity, but not to see that as something limiting for us, but just to have an awareness of, let's not tell stories that this is the worst it's ever been. It's a pattern that plays out. But if you see something that's troubling, and sure, you could feel that you need to sink under the weight of all that is and feel helpless. At the same time, I find that often there'll be something I read or someone says to me that draws my attention. So I understand, out of the myriad number of things that are going on, when my awareness has been switched to a certain happening, it's almost a soul, not so much a soul contract, but a soul mission for me to say, okay, I'm going to put some light on that in whichever way feels right to me. I'm not going to go, well, what can I do? Or that's so terrible, or try and think about the logical human solutions. I'm going to straight away, and I think Rena asked me about this, what do I do? Straight away, drop into my heart and then start the process of sending light of whatever that is. So not turning away from something that seems awful and not feeling helpless in the face of it, but almost feeling like I want to be the beginning of this equation of noticing and then calling in divine presence or divine light in whichever way that is, which can be as simple as sending it from your heart, and being aware that those ripple effects are really powerful from an energetic perspective. Just shifting your awareness out of the heaviness of the material world and into what spiritual frequency can do. I'm going to reference again Masaru Emoto's incredible work with water and showing how vibration affects the actual physical structure of water. And so we have a lot of different reasons of proof of the frequency of energy. And it's the same thing with words that many years ago when I was doing some training, many years in life coaching, they were talking about the frequency of certain words and how saying words over and over can actually physically affect your body and your emotional fields. And so taking the power of positive things like love and compassion, you actually are embedding, they're embedded with a positive energy. So when you work with these words, you will start to feel a lightening. And if you're using negative self-talk against yourself, there will be a sort of a heavier energy. It's a little bit like being in a murky swamp. It can be harder to see the truth out of a negative energy. It sort of has a hopelessness attached to it. So white magic to me is also about the inner intention of me to try and purify my thinking and my use of words. The power of words is really quite incredible in terms of words can be used to obfuscate truth. They can be used to manipulate and to deny other people their own truth. And they can also be used as a defense where someone uses a lot of words that maybe seem quite reasonable at an intellectual level, but feel like a whole lot of gunk here if you're listening through the heart. So the beauty of words is the ability to connect with others and to share information, but it is a fine thread of when words become, yes, obfuscation for truth and energy. So it's where you need to have that dual focus of what is being said. Is it coming into alignment and harmony with what you're actually feeling, using yourself as a bit of a barometer? That's white magic to me, looking for the truth of love beneath all that is. And when we raise our own frequency and we do this through prayer, the other thing to me, again, is prayer on a daily basis being as simple as possible, remembering my own divinity so that I stay connected to that energy. And in the face of anything difficult or even something just sort of random, normal human difficulty, that I still understand that I am more than what the challenge is, so I am, and I am, we are all connected to this energy. We all have this soul, wisdom, and energy. So we're walking around in material lives, but we are so much more than that as well. We have all of these senses. And you may have heard me talking about working with light and visualizing it. And if you've seen any of my videos on Instagram, I'm always invoking light and using it, bringing it into the body and visualizing it. And part of that is the light work of light is also frequency. Color therapy has frequency. So if you are attracted to a certain color to work with, that's also a way. I think that the more that you lean into spiritual understanding and wisdom, and the more that you start to see the signs, as it were, you see that guidance is coming to help you, that you're getting these little nudges or sort of opportunities that can't be explained, or sensations within your mind and heart of things are going to turn out okay, even if you don't have any logical proof for that. When you work with the spiritual realms, and I've said this before, I'm sure, giving them, they are sort of asking you, they, energy spirit, wants an acknowledgement from you of what's happening. So when you get the number sequence on the clock or whatever it is, and you don't know what it means, it's enough to acknowledge that you've seen it. And then that almost opens the floodgates for more to come to you, because it's a little bit like if you've ever seen a medium doing their work and they have the spirit coming through and they have the human in front of them, the live person, and they need confirmation from the person who is there before they can move along to the next gate. So they need the participation of the client to agree to certain stuff before extra energy can flow through. And if someone is too closed down, I've seen sessions where the medium, they have to do their best, but you can tell that they're struggling to get the next part of the information through. It's like the pipeline has become blocked. So keep the pipeline between you and spirit clear, not by overthinking and wondering what the hell the butterfly meant or what the recurring number sequence meant, but by acknowledging and saying, yes, thank you, I see that. And then you'll probably start to get more of an energy of what it all means when you acknowledge. So to me, it's about working with the light and allowing it to be just as real as the material parts of my life as well, allowing the visualizations and the energy sensations within my body and the inexplicable little signs that drop into my awareness to be as real to me as the part of me that does the paying of the bills and the cleaning of the house and all of that stuff. And how do we do this? Well, it just takes a commitment and a belief, because there'll be a million reasons why you don't need to follow that path. But when you do, and you work with the idea of weaving the material and the spiritual together all of the time, that creates a force field of light around you that again adds to this frequency boost that we want to bring onto Earth. So I would advise you, or I would just suggest that you feel into the energy of your own, let's call it your own inner magic, because there's many associations with the energy of magic and white magic, and some of that is about ritual and very specific and beautiful invocation. But I still believe that we all have that energy within us of our light and our spirit and our soul. And spiritual energy is unlimited, really, by it's non-restrained by physicality. And that's our magic and our ability to work miracles, really, as it were, in our life, to tap into the unseen realms and bring forth soul gifts. And so part of that might even just be you in your own work. You are doing your own meditation practice, and you work with crystals, or you work with the divine energy, but you bring it into your regular job where nobody else maybe even knows that you do that, or nobody talks in that language. But I know I have clients, and I have some friends too, who find that their presence, by them bringing their own magic, their inner light to any space, can in some ways, and we've talked about the times where your light actually gets someone's back up, makes them be like a cat that's in a stiff breeze. But let's talk about the time when your light sparks something in someone else, and you can see that they respond. And I have, say, friends and clients who will go to their normal job, but someone there will ask them a question about what else they do, and they seem to be, they're interested, like they feel that the nice presence of this person who is a spiritual being, who is practicing spiritual energy, other people sense something in there, and they like that energy. They feel a resonance with it, and maybe in some way it sparks them into trying something new, or being kinder on their way home from work. So it is about your magic and your ability to touch other people on an energetic level, and to connect in with those of us who are doing energy work on behalf of the planet. You can feel into that energy. You can understand that there are many light workers, and some of them are quite separate from each other and very far away. But it doesn't mean that they are alone in this mission to spread light and raise the frequency of Earth. So that's what I wanted to talk about, raising the frequency. In these darker times, the need for light is stronger than ever. How do you keep your own light switched on when you look around you and you just see really awful things happening? That's part of a level of the path, and I would say devotion to source, that you know that you keep going, that there's a point where you would never ever give in or sink into despair. It doesn't mean you don't have times. It's good to honor times when you feel a bit overwhelmed, but there's something in you that says, despite all of this, and despite what might be coming down the pipeline and what I'm hearing, I do just believe that if I keep holding my light, and I keep believing in something other than what is, something, all possibilities, if I believe in a positive future, that will help me through the challenge. That's how I work with it. I would say that it's also an ability to feel into other timelines and other energies, because what's happening now is one level of what's happening and what we can see, but there's also so much more to that. So it's a nice thing to tune in, and some people use their imagination, which is still spiritual energy. Some people genuinely have psychic visions of things. But if you could just tune into your own heart, even if you yourself aren't able to see a solution, breathing into the heart field, feeling into the energy of your heart, which is connected to source light. It's the seat of the soul in many ways. It's the gateway where your soul and universal connection and the divine masters, ascended masters, angels all connect. So it's this gateway of spiritual energy within a human frame. If you can tune into your heart, you will feel the energy of hope. A heart always is at that frequency of peace, hope, and trust in more beauty. So hold the space, do whatever you can to connect with your own heart. If you need to imagine or pretend, that's okay. But I feel like once you start to pretend that you can feel that with your heart will bring that energy to you. You need to have a space of refuge and rest and respite. And that's a beautiful thing to do it in nature, but sometimes we need it within us in a moment. It's not enough to go out into nature. It just needs to be a moment of dropping the thinking mind and all that activity. Sometimes even the third eye, there's a lot that can be going on there. You're either clearing it from past traumas or it's very open and it's bringing you a lot of information. And I always find the best way to process that spiritual information is to intentionally drop what's happening in the higher head chakras into the heart and sit with it and let it steep like tea, because the heart is that bridge and the heart senses things. So a vision brought into the heart can be allowed to really seed throughout you and then become the magnetized energy of what you need to do in order to allow that vision to come to fruition. So it's beautiful to dream and vision, that's one thing, but we need to allow it to come into a space of almost like gestation within, and the heart is that space. It's the sacred soil for the visioning. So another tip I would just add, I don't know if I should talk about this another time too, but when you work with energy, whether you do that professionally or you do it for yourself spiritually, sometimes you'll hear similar themes coming through. So for me, I often work with the energy of threads of light, and I often work with gold and silver. Um, the chakra colors, and these are the main 7 chakra colors, they're fairly well known, but I often bring in gold and silver because to me that's both universal and earthly energies. And what we want to do is to work with those frequencies to balance and harmonize our bodies so that we are all the qualities within us, the masculine and feminine, divine masculine energies are in harmony. And we are also in harmony where our soul and our body connection is peaceful. And higher fine frequencies of energy can sometimes be disrupting to the body. So you need to allow for that integration so that you're not always running, say, burning hot with spiritual energy, maybe, that you're allowing it to be a level where then that becomes normal for your physical being. And some of the new illnesses and things that we see, especially nervous system ones and ones that are associated with certain food allergies and things, there's certain what we would call light body symptoms happening where more light is present upon the planet. Surprisingly, yes, I know it is. More light is present upon the planet, more light is able to come into the human body, and that can be that frequency of one jet stream to another. So sometimes having more light, more spirituality want to enter the physical vehicle can bring about these little disruptions of energy. And so it's about how do we smooth out our own edges of that. And so I like to visualize the idea of threads of energy which connect both to source, universal consciousness, and into the earth, and also smoothing our own energy around us. So allowing the threads of light, which you might use or you might feel into as ways to spiritually, energetically navigate. There'll be times when you just visualize those as smoothed over like a beautiful sphere of light. Again, it's about questing for information, receiving spiritual information. How do we integrate it? That's what I'm really interested in. That's what I like to work with people, helping them to integrate their soul's light into the world, to birth it in some way, to make it be manifest so that it stops being an idea and it becomes a reality. The practice of white magic, this is how I work with it and what it means to me. It's also invocation and working with divine beings of light, such as angels, higher frequency masters or goddess energies. But using the word invocation can sometimes be a little bit, I guess, maybe overwhelming for some people because it's not necessarily about the specificity of the words. It's the specificity of the heart intention and the purity of the heart intention to connect with divine energy with respect. And so sometimes using specific words is really helpful, but just a genuine plea from your heart, either through the energy of joy or through a feeling of suffering, but a genuine willingness to connect with divine frequency, to me is invocation too. You do need to start with some more of the complexity and the beauty, but the more that you do that, it's more likely to me that you'll start to feel a resonance in your heart. And so simply the name of a divine being is enough in your heart to be that invocation to respectfully call them in. Also, divine energy, I know has so many facets. So even if you're not sure which facet it is, but you feel yourself guided to call to Mother Mary in some way or to Archangel Michael, again, no prayer is wasted. So the divine being that can best support you will come through. And I have found this time and time again. So it's just about experimentation and the willingness to be a vessel for light and higher frequencies and to help that move that through your human parts, because we still have the human parts, and that is also part of the path. The bits of us that we feel we're not sure about or we reject in some way. So it is that integration we're always looking with between the light and the dark, between the spirit and the matter, between instinct and ancestral patterning, and between intuition and the energy of all possibility of overcoming obstacles in order to become more of who you are and who you came to be. It's part of the path. So using white magic, using the practice of light, invocation, believing that there's something more to you than even just the good human parts, that there's a spark of divine magic within all of us, and that is the soul. Honor your soul. Think about how you can open the dialogue with your soul and how you can open the dialogue with the universe to notice the magic, to see where it is, and start to create your own. It's almost like your own book of wisdom or your own toolkit where the language of spirit speaks to you, because it will speak slightly differently to all of us, but it's still that same frequency of positivity, of a unity, of a heart connection, and beautiful unconditional love. Really, that's the truth. So that's what white magic means to me, the practice of working with raising your frequency. Experiment for yourself, raising your own frequency. Notice how it works for you, how it works in the world, and understand that this is a very important practice we can all bring through, ways to keep our energy clear and open to the light, and therefore less susceptible to negativity and fear mongering. It's important that we do this. It's important for ourselves, for others, and for Earth. So look into your own practice of white magic. Work your magic in the world. What does that mean to you? How can you bring about a resonance of spiritual love and light and compassion for all beings? So that's a little bit from me at the moment. I hope that it inspires you to work with energy, to work with color and frequency, and even just pure invocation of your heart. If you feel guided to offer anything to Earth herself through crystal work or altars, I encourage you to do so. Tuning into Earth in those ways when I see a troubling situation. It's interesting because I feel that it's similar to tuning into my heart out of my head. Earth's energy has a very grounded, very peaceful acceptance and love. So even something awful that I'm going to her about, her response is almost an encompassing sort of peaceful love of she's so grateful for those of us sending light, but she also knows that things will be okay. So it's a process. So there's no need to get terrified, but be part of the solution and not the problem. And the solution is the light and allowing the soul to be present and allowing the heart to be present so that your mind and your heart are as one. And if we're going to talk about the color white, it's the intention or the energy or the understanding that we can harmonize all aspects, all of our seven main chakras in the body through the energy work, through harmonization and prayer, that they become almost that one color of white, of they are at the same level of frequency. And it's that purity, that intention, that connection to source, that lightness of being. So may you enjoy your white magic practice. Call your practice magic. You know, it might not be what your mind thinks of as white magic, but it's bringing in the light, and anything that is in service to the light is an important mission. And kudos to you and love and light from me that you are doing this. And I wish you all the best with it. And I feel us all connecting in around the globe and holding the space for new earth and new ways of being and the loving light of compassion. Just take a moment now after you've been listening to me, just before I wrap it up, just to imagine that you can breathe in and out of your heart, and you could allow the presence of white light to wrap all around you like a beautiful soft cloak and connecting you to the earth and also opening you up to universe. And just see if you can feel and allow this purity, this reset, this energy of your heart, which underneath all always knows that things will be okay. The heart is above and beyond the emotional field. It is an energetic field, and it doesn't get swayed or tossed about by the storms of emotion which come in through the mind. It is unyielding to negativity, and it is connected to source. Love your heart, love your path, accept all that is, and keep focused on the light. There's a beautiful old quote about keeping your focus turned to the sun and the shadows fall behind you. And it's not about ignoring the shadows, but it's about putting attention on the light. So it's not an unawareness, but it helps to sustain you in the face of difficulty, bringing through the light. And may this help you in any way. Thank you for spending some time with me, and I will be back with another guest or with another solo musing from my heart. My intention is just simply to spread this love light energy, this encouragement to anyone doing their spiritual work, to say keep going with it, because it's beautiful, it's important, it's sustaining of all life on earth on all levels. Namaste to you all, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now.